Hey y'all, it's me. It's your girl. And you already know. Like, share, and subscribe. What's up, real deal? How y'all doing? Yes, okay. Now we gonna get in our content. Yeah. We gonna talk about Miss Taylor, School of Business. Yes. Life in prison without parole, y'all, versus the death penalty sentences for what she did to her boyfriend. Yeah, yeah, she got him. She tore him up. Yes, Lord, honey. Yes, Miss Taylor went through it, honey. Now, y'all know I'm gonna be fair with everybody, right? I know at the time she was on the other substances, okay? And when she sit down in court and she uh think about it. See, she's out of control. See, she out of control here, but she's not insane now. She don't took exam. She not insane. But during the court hearing, she tried to play insane, but it didn't work. She did some gruesome things to her boyfriend. Real talk, real talk, real talk. She did some gruesome things to him that it scared me. It scared me, real deal. It scared me. So I want y'all to determine after what she did in that gruesome beheading of Shad, her boyfriend. I'm gonna take y'all to her sentencing, okay? From the judge. Real deal. Y'all gonna have to start getting up on the panel and talking with me, okay? Because I can't do all the talking and all the thinking. I got to hear from y'all. Okay? Now she ain't sitting there with that thing around her mouth for nothing, y'all, okay? She haven't been a good girl, okay? That's why that's on her face. Let's take a listen to this.
Going to impose life imprisonment without the possibility of extended supervision. I believe that's appropriate in light of the findings that I've already made.
It's life in prison for 25-year-old Taylor Schabusiness, the woman convicted of murdering and beheading her lover before sexually assaulting and dismembering his corpse.
But when did you start, cutting up his body?
Like almost right away. I was sucking and cutting at the same time.
An emotional sentencing hearing where family members of both the victim and defendant spoke out.
It's really one of the most horrific ways to end a person's life.
The list of superlatives don't seem to measure up to what you see, what you hear about, and what we heard about in the trial. This crime offends human decency, it offends human dignity, and it offends the human community. It really does.
Losing her mother, her father remarried, then her find herself pregnant and losing her son, and then losing her brother. So that's a lot for a young person to take in.
Sure, everybody loves Taylor. Think she's a monster? No.
Nancy. Yeah, that's her dad. Real deal. This is her dad. He in jail. He been in jail all his life. Where he go? Where Joker go? Where daddy? Everybody love Taylor. Hold on. Let me see, can I find it?
To me, you took the easy way out.
That's her uncle.
They're the most cowardly, weakest things that you can do possibly.
But Taylor is not a throwaway. She's a human being. It's not an eye for an eye.
Taylor, I just wanted to say that I forgive you for what you've done to my son.
And words from the defendant herself.
So, Ms. Schabusiness, this is your opportunity to address me if there's anything on your mind you'd like to say before I pass sentence.
And she said, now, now,
No, there isn't.
Okay.
Law and Crime Network followed the case from the start when
she went
Schabusiness
from
was
that beautiful woman, beautiful, nice woman, to a evil woman due to the problem of things she had going on in her life.
arrested in February 2022.
That's her.
You got blood on your hands here, blood on your hands.
This after her lover's mother found his severed head in a 10-gallon bucket.
Did y'all hear that? That's her boyfriend. That's her. I heard that. This girl, what was he doing when she was trying to take his head off? What was he doing? That's love, y'all. Is that love? What is it? She beheaded him. Yes, she did. She caused a gruesome incident with this man because she was under the control of a substance. Okay? Look like he's shorter.
I have no clue what's happening. My girl swears that she's found her severed head of her son in the basement.
Did you go down there?
In a bucket. I went down, I can't tell what the fuck it is. Pardon my language, I'm kind of a little freaked out.
Hello?
Hi, Tara. So can you tell me what's going on?
Are you positive my son's head is in a bucket, a young bucket in my basement?
Okay.
That's Shad, her boyfriend mom. She said that she put my son's head in a bucket.
What makes you think that?
Because I looked in the bucket.
What did you see?
Exactly what I told you.
Okay. Where's the rest of the body at?
No idea.
More than a year after her arrest, Schabusiness stood trial in Brown County, Wisconsin.
And she laughed about it, y'all.
Where Law and Crime Network.
She was in the court laughing about it. Now, remind you, this is her attorney. Look what she did to him.
Brought you gavel to gavel coverage of the shocking court proceedings.
Look, she attacked her own. she attacked her own. Look, everybody just sitting down in the court looking. Look at the attorney. He just looking. He stood up. He ain't help. He just getting over there.
And she lifts a towel that's covering the bucket. It's a beach towel. And unfortunately, sees essentially a mother's worst nightmare. That her son's head is in the bucket.
Over the course of several days, prosecutors laid out the gruesome case, arguing Taylor Schabusiness murdered 24-year-old Shad Therion, her ex-boyfriend and lover. She was arrested with Therion's blood literally on her hands and later described the entire incident to detectives.
Miss Schabusiness had blood on her hands when she was arrested.
You got blood on your hands here, blood on.
Look at that. They don't even want to touch her. You heard what he said? That's what he said. That's what she had on her hand. She sat there and took the time enough to do that gruesome act, y'all. So that's why I want to know, did y'all give her life in prison without eligible parole or the death penalty? Now, the only way she can get away with death penalty is it all depends on the state. Do they proceed with the death penalty?
On your hands.
He's in my body, but like it happened. I just didn't stop. I don't know why. I didn't stop. I felt bad because I'm like, damn, he's gonna be the reason after this. I'm like, I might as well just kill it.
Schabusiness told officials she met up with Therion in February 2022 and intended to have sex with him. But what started as kinky sex soon turned deadly. Schabusiness admitted to using a dog chain to choke Therion to death.
So when he put the chain on his neck, he thought that you guys were going to have kinky sex, right? You think that's what Chad was thinking, maybe?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
I was gonna do the same thing. You know, I was going in, and I did, and I went in. But then he was like,
She told him. She said, I was going in, real deal. I was going in. That mentally what she's saying here, she went all the way with it. She told the truth. She said, I went all the way in. You know, she got what adrenaline was just taking her there. She didn't weigh her decision. She didn't. She didn't think about the consequences. She couldn't have. Cause if she did, it wouldn't have did this. She didn't. We don't have to perform acts and stuff, y'all. We have to do something to get away from it. Avoid these kind of situations so you won't spend the rest of your life in prison.
choke me, but he didn't really say it. So I'm like, put it on his neck. I already know I'm gonna choke him, and I did.
After that, she admitted to sexually assaulting Therion's body, later using kitchen knives from his mother's house to dismember his remains. Detectives found those in buckets, bags, and boxes across multiple crime scenes.
What other items were in the bucket?
There was remains, 2 different specific types of remains that I observed.
What kind?
There was a human head. There was genitalia in the bucket.
Let me stop you there. What do you mean genitalia?
What I would recognize as a penis and testicles.
And were they laying underneath the head?
They were visible after the head was removed, yes.
What else did you see?
I observed a black Miracle 3 kitchen blade knife that was removed. A kitchen knife. I observed a...
Y'all see that girl sitting there looking like she about 52 years old. And she but 26. 26.
When you're done with your bionic smile, it'll help change.
Yellow pocket knife, I guess, for best description of the pocket knife with a yellow handle. There was a head of a razor, like a shaving razor blade, nail, Jolly Rancher, and there was a flesh material that the doctor just described as a flesh material.
Blood in the bucket as well?
There was blood in the bucket, yes.
Days after testimony, jurors returned back-to-back guilty verdicts for Schabusiness, finding her guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, dismemberment, and sexual assault. Jurors also determined Schabusiness was of sound mind at the time she committed the crimes.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information. Question 1. At the time the crimes were committed, did the defendant have a mental disease or mental defect? Answer, no.
But this week, months after the guilty verdicts were handed down, Schabusiness was sentenced for the crime. She appeared in court wearing a spit hood to cover her face. The hearing began with testimony from Schabusiness's grandmother, who described her troubled upbringing.
My granddaughter has been on her own for a while.
Okay. When Taylor's mother passed away in 2009, did that have an impact on Taylor?
Yes, it did, because she had just lost her mother, and a year later, her father.
So what it sounds like to me with this young lady right here, y'all, she had a good relationship with her boyfriend, Shad, but the thing is, she got on, start taking substances to avoid things mentally. You know what I mean? She ain't have nobody else to go to. That's the grandmother up there talking to. And it led her to other places mentally. You know what I mean? That's what I think. What you thinking? What y'all thinking? What y'all got to say about it?
remarried, and the person he married had children of her own. So she was kind of I would say, didn't feel, well, she felt like she lost her mother, and now she was losing her dad because there were other kids involved in there. Taylor always kept everything to herself. She never said things about people. I know that she didn't feel comfortable. She felt like it was too soon after her mother passed away.
Esther Coronado explained her granddaughter felt loss after the death of her mother, her father's remarriage, and later the death of her brother.
And her father remarried, and she felt like abandoned. And then here she was in a home where there were.
Look at her, y'all, like she laughing, like, what is she up here talking about? She doing what I told her to do, allegedly. Whew.
Well, there was 3 children, but one of them, I know that lives with the father, but 2 of them were living there, and her and her brother lived in the basement, and so she just from a nice home that she had, then she ended up living in the basement.
These are those rhombohedron crystals in your pineal gland.
Woo!
Like I said, spent her life in jail. And
She needs mental health counseling.
Absolutely. And she needs to deal with her extensive trauma history.
You believe that she may need medication management?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Is she a lost cause?
She's not a lost cause.
Is she a monster?
No, she's not a monster.
She needs to be punished, correct?
She does need to be punished for what happened, and my family we regret what happened, and we apologize to Shad's family for what has happened.
Next, it was Schabusiness's father.
Now, this is her father, y'all. This is his dad. Dad stay in jail. He got remarried and everything. He in jail. Lost her mama. She ain't got nobody. She had her cousins and stuff. But the choices and decisions that she made, that's what happened, you know. But we all good people when under circumstances, you know, we all are good people. We all are great in our own ways.
Arturo Coronado, who took the stand. He again mentioned the hardships after Schabusiness's mother died.
And then your late wife, she passed away. Did that take a toll on your daughter?
Of course.
Can you tell me how that impacted your daughter from what you saw, what you observed?
Just, she was young. I mean, she lost her mother, and it's just hard to explain, but yeah, things aren't the same.
It was a traumatic event for her. Is that fair?
Of course, sure.
And then at some point, the family moved from Evanston, Illinois to Green Bay in 2008. Is that right?
Correct.
And you came to Green Bay because of a job, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then you lived here for a while in Green Bay, correct?
Yes.
She went to Bayport High School, correct?
Correct.
She went to Bayview Middle School, correct?
Howard Tomico School District.
Yes. And then at some point, there were some issues at the Bayport High School, and she went to Cotulla, Texas, correct?
To graduate, yeah.
Yeah. And she lived with your parents, Esther and Juan Coronado, in Temple, Texas. Is that right?
Correct.
And she graduated?
Yes.
And was that about 2016 or so?
I believe so, yeah.
When you lived with her, was school a struggle for her, or was she able to do the work?
from time to time. I mean, she did okay. She had some issues. You know, nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay, I'm just going to see if you could just move the microphone a little closer or move a little closer because I can't hear you. Sorry. Would you help with homework and things like that?
Sure.
When you got remarried, did that take a toll on your daughter, Taylor?
I would think so. Yeah.
Okay. Did you try to help in that regard to kind of bridge the gap?
Yep.
Okay.
He testified that his daughter is beloved, saying she should not face life in prison.
Strong family support network in the state of Texas and or Ohio?
Sure. Everybody loves Taylor.
Think she's a monster?
No.
You understand what she was found guilty of by the jury, correct?
I do.
First degree, intentional homicide, mutilation of a corpse, third degree, sexual assault, all felonies, all repeaters. You understand that, correct?
I do.
You understand the penalties, correct?
Yeah.
And then for the homicide conviction, it's life imprisonment, but the issue is whether she gets the possibility of extended supervision or not, possibility of parole or not. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have any comments for the court on behalf of your daughter?
Sure. I don't think she needs life imprisonment. I mean, the mistakes were made. You know, her not being in the right state of mind when it happened, you know, has a lot to do with it. Her whole life, she was a good kid. You know, drugs mess people up.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But I don't think that she deserves life.
You think
That's
she
what
should
I
be?
said, real deal. I said substances and the choices that we made messed that girl life up. The life when she probably was a good girl. That's how pretty she was. She was a good girl. Then when she got under them substances that she was using performing, it made her. She had to suffer with the consequences.
And it'd be nice for her to be able to see her child.
You agree she's got to be punished, correct?
Well, yeah. Yes.
Okay. But is it your testimony that you believe she should be given a chance at the possibility of parole sometime in the future?
Most definitely.
Next, Schabusiness' defense attorney Christopher Freilich called toxicologist James O'Donnell to the stand. He spoke of Schabusiness' repeated drug use over the years and on the night of the murder.
Methamphetamine is highly addictive. Is that fair?
Extremely highly addictive. One of the most.
Speech. Kelly.
Find Peter Parker.
What's the got his tight shirt on?
Find Peter Parker.
Kelly Therion compared Schabusiness to prolific Wisconsin serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, who was killed in prison while serving time for multiple murders.
But to take the cowardly path that you did and to make other people suffer because you were suffering is pretty shitty. So that name Taylor Schabusiness fits you well. And I'm not a praying man, but after Judge Walsh's sentences today, I will pray that you meet the same fate as your idealistic Jeffrey Dahmer. So have a good life, Schabusiness.
But it was the victim's father, Michael Therion, who made a shocking statement of forgiveness.
Taylor, I just wanted to say that I forgive you for what you've done to my son. And
now, y'all, hold up. That was Shad dad stood up and said he forgave her for what she did to his son. He forgave her. It's nothing wrong with forgiving a person. But I just want to know over here in the chat, would y'all forgive her for doing that to her, to y'all daughter, but to y'all son? Would y'all forgive her? I ain't saying nothing wrong there. Answering the question. With y'all, what you talking about, chat? Come on, those who watching, those who viewing the videos, talk to me. You can talk right. Hey, put your information in the chat.
yeah, you made a bad choice, and now you have to live with it. But you know, I'm gonna miss Shad. He was a wonderful child too. Growing up, just mild mannered and just happy, and I know you made a bad choice, and like I said, I forgive you, and I'm gonna ask the judge if he can, if she can see the streets again sometime. It may not be soon, but I believe everybody makes bad choices, and maybe not to the scale, but I think there's a lot of hope for you. I think, you can make use of your time and be a better person. And
Yeah, what y'all think about that? You'll be a better person if you do easy your time like she doing. And no, she can't just go back out there. No, she don't need to go back out there on those streets after what she did. No, I don't agree with that. But some people may agree with that. But y'all, it's y'all own choice, decision. We the jury here. We the jury.
do great things yet, so it does no good for me to hate you, I know you got a heart. I know you got a mind, and I wish you no harm.
With that, Assistant District Attorney Caleb Saunders addressed the court, recommending the highest possible sentence.
This really wasn't a bad decision. It was a series of conscious efforts. It was continued effort over, as she said, 3 to 5 minutes, as she's telling and describing for Detective Groff and Detective Kemp, pantomiming how she's pulling harder, how she's glibly talking about how he's turning purple, and I liked it. I'm pulling harder. He's coughing up blood. I'm pulling harder. I kept going. I was waiting for him to die. This really is an involved process. It's a method of ending another person's life that really is quite significant. And I think evinces some significant concerns going forward, both in looking at the nature of the offense, as we have to, but in looking at some of the other factors the courts to consider, and which I'll be commenting on earlier. It's really one of the most horrific ways to end a person's life. And again, it's bad enough to do to anyone, but as we heard, obviously, if somebody's remorseful for their
have a chance at the possibility of extended supervision or parole supervision sometime in the future after she gets help. This was one incident. I would argue that my client should not necessarily receive separate punishments, although we have convictions for 3 separate crimes, but it was an incident that occurred on one particular date, February 22nd of 2022, that the sentences should be concurrent. I would argue, Your Honor, and ask the court to consider the fact that this was likely a meth-fueled type of incident on the date of this tragedy. Shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. I think it would be a tragedy to, as an argument on behalf of my client, to give her life in prison without the possibility of parole. I think that the court should definitely take into account what the defense is recommending, what the independent pre-sentence investigation is recommending, and what Michael Thurian is recommending. I don't believe that my client is or wanted to do this or liked doing it. I think that she really wasn't able to completely understand or fathom what was going on. And when she was talking to detectives from the Green Bay Police Department, she was still hopped up on drugs. Her mind just wasn't thinking straight. How could it?
Next, Judge Thomas Walsh asked Schabusiness whether she wanted to address the court.
So, Ms. Schabusiness, this is your opportunity to address me. If there's anything on your mind you'd like to say before I pass sentence.
No, there isn't.
Okay.
With that, it was time for Judge Walsh to issue his ruling.
She has a limited court record. Certainly, we have pretty much the entire extent of her criminal record in front of us here today. But it's a limited record that reflects on character. She's got a family who cares about her. And although sometimes I think people take that for granted, if you sit in this courtroom long enough, you'll realize that you should never take your family for granted, because so many people come in sitting in that chair in an orange jumpsuit and have absolutely no one who will come in and say, I'm with her. And that takes a little bit of fortitude to come in and do that. And frankly, today she's got extended family that comes in and does that for her, because her direct family are unable to do that for various reasons. And so I think that speaks to Ms. Schabusiness's character, because there's people in this world who find value and worth in her, that they're willing to come in and stand behind her.
While he commended Schabusiness's family members who spoke, Judge Walsh quickly changed focus to the severity of the crime.
I sit in this chair often, and I address situations where people have lost their lives, or people have been violated terribly, and I always indicate that really the offense in this case can't be overstated, and that seems very appropriate to say that in most cases.
She gonna need help, y'all. She gonna need help. She's still gonna need help. She gonna need a lot of help. She's still going through something right now. She ain't got no family, but those are other families. She got family, but they not the immediate family. So would y'all give her life in prison without parole versus life in prison with extended supervision? Or would y'all give her extended supervision in life? Which one of y'all would work with her?
When there's been such a death or a violation, but in this case, it seems different. In this case, you seem to run out of superlatives when describing what happened in this case. You really do. The list of superlatives don't seem to measure up to what you see, what you hear about, and what we heard about in the trial. This crime offends human decency, it offends human dignity, and it offends the human community. It really does. When someone loses their life needlessly, it's tragic. It really is. It's tragic for family and friends and community. When life is taken from a person in the fashion that it was in this case, where the victim's remains are cut up and packaged in containers, it's difficult to identify a human nature in those activities. It really is. It's very troubling. It's difficult to recognize the general belonging that most people have for their community. It's difficult to recognize community in anything that happened in this case. This is a small community that we live in, where the web of relationships almost encompass everyone who lives here, such that people look out for each other and care when something bad happens to one of our members. And in a broader sense, the community we exist in is the human community, as I've reflected on. And these actions are foreign to all of that community, and they shock the community beyond the ability to adequately express in words. They really do, and that's the gravity of this offense. That is the gravity of this offense. There aren't superlatives for it. There aren't really words for it.
In the end, Judge Walsh handed down a sentence of life in prison without parole.
Yeah, I got life in prison without parole. Child thing. Life in prison without parole. Let me see if that's what he really did. Did you do that, Judge? Let me make sure that's what you did. Okay, there go the duck. Okay. What y'all think? Now, I got a little confused right here, y'all. I didn't know whether when they said life in prison without the possibility of parole, and then he said life in prison with extended supervision. What's the difference in that and the possibility of parole? Can somebody explain that to me in the chat? I don't understand it. If somebody can explain to me what's the difference without parole and with without, he didn't say without parole, he said life in prison with extended supervision. So if you can explain that to the real deal over here in the chat, I really, really appreciate that. But this is real life, y'all. It's a real life event that happened, and it's reality. And the decision that we make in life really affects our living condition. Now you in jail. The only thing she can keep coming up. One thing about keep coming up parole, they can deny parole if they feel like you're not ready to be out there in this real world. Y'all like, share, and subscribe. Real deal, I appreciate all my viewers and all my subscribers, all the people in the chat, all the mods. I appreciate y'all because a lot of you all come back here and y'all leave y'all comments, male and female, young and old. I appreciate y'all. This is your girl, reality. Let's real talk. Keep it real. Hey, I'm out of here.